Hey guys, what's going on? It's Rekt Capital and welcome back to the channel. We're going to be focusing on when could the next golden cross potentially occur, because now Bitcoin's price action is going towards the upside. So could we see that death cross actually be invalidated and turn into a golden cross? Subscribe to the channel for more videos like this in the future, and let's dive right in. So very briefly speaking, every time we see a death cross, we see significant downside. In 2014, we saw 71% downside after the death cross happened, and it actually took a significant amount of time before the next golden cross happened. So that was 562 days. It's a lot of time, very long in the grander scheme of things. But if you focus on the next death cross that occurred in 2018, which led to 65% downside, it took over a year before the next golden cross occurred. But now let's look at the next death crosses, and arguably these death crosses were in a period of macro accumulation. So you saw the EMAs oscillate through one another, almost align with one another, producing many false trend meaningless crosses, whether death crosses or golden crosses. But in any case, from this death cross in 2019, late 2019, to the next golden cross in early 2020, it took just about over 2 months for the golden cross to occur after that initial death cross. And for this death cross, it took 2 months. So 60 days until the next golden cross happened. And that was, of course, after the March 2020 crash. So we can see here that it takes anything from 60 to 69 days at the best scenario. But in the worst scenario, it's 560 days or even over a year. So let's focus first on this best case scenario, because the death cross has happened mid-June. And if we just think about a potential golden cross happening within the next 2 months or so, then that would lead us to around August, mid-August, or even early September for a golden cross to occur in the same vein that a golden cross occurred over here. So we saw some sort of downside deviation, but then recovery from Bitcoin's price action to prompt a gold cross, much like we saw downside deviation to prompt a gold cross. So that's the best case scenario, that this is just a false death cross, a trend meaningless death cross, where we see continuation towards the upside from Bitcoin and a golden cross to occur in late mid-August or early September. What's interesting about this red time frame here is that, historically speaking, death crosses actually tend to occur from the moment we see that first initial crash. So in this case, it was 65,000 for Bitcoin. The moment we see that crash occur, it takes around 100 to 150 days for the death cross to occur. Well, we actually saw a death cross happen from the crash to when the death cross happened. It took 60 days. So far ahead of schedule, because the soonest, historically speaking, should have been 110 days after the crash, but it was actually 60 days, roughly speaking, after the crash. So definitely ahead of schedule, but history suggested to us that the death cross should have occurred in this area, late July to mid-September. And in fact, history is suggesting to us now that the death cross happened ahead of schedule by at least half the time, almost half the time actually. We're seeing here that history is suggesting that if this is a false death cross, that a golden cross could happen at the soonest in this time frame, where the death cross was supposed to happen by standards of history anyway in the first place. So it's quite interesting to see this sort of development occur here, that there is scope for a golden cross to occur, and many people against the death cross will be looking for this scenario, because people say that the death cross is the lagging indicator, and that whatever downside has happened in Bitcoin's price action has already been accounted for by this lagging indicator. But of course, if you just look to the history, death cross happened here and we saw further downside after the death cross. death cross happened here and we saw further downside after the death cross. But of course, we do have periods in macro accumulation where you see a death cross doesn't really amount to much anyway. But if we focus on this death cross, that's still 53% towards the lows of March 2020. So still we tend to see sizable downside after a death cross. But in any case, if people are going to be hoping for that golden cross to occur relatively soon, the soonest would be in the next 2 months or so. And we can just only hope that 29,000 continues to hold, because that's the support region that needs to hold to invalidate the death cross. So the death cross has happened, but it hasn't fully validated because we haven't seen a breakdown from 29K. And as long as we don't see that breakdown occur, we won't see that further downside that the death cross historically is suggesting to us. And instead, we could potentially fight for a golden cross within the next 2 months or so. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you found it educational. Subscribe to the channel for more videos like this in the future. Like the video if you did. I'm Rekt Capital, and I'll speak to you in the next one. Speak to you soon.